I want to welcome in Marc Narducci of the Philadelphia Inquirer to preview Friday night's matchup between Temple and UConn here in Connecticut. Marc, definitely appreciate the time, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure, Matt.
So Temple comes in off a 3-game winning streak. I think they've won 5 of their last 6 after a 1-2 start. What's changed over the last 2/3 of the season?
They started running the ball better, Matt, and especially during this 3-game winning streak. They've gained 791 yards in the 3 games. And early on, the quarterback, Philip Walker, I think was just trying to do too much, and he was throwing some unwarranted interceptions. He's now gone 10 straight quarters without an INT. They've taken a lot of the pressure off of him by running the ball, and by doing that as well, they've kept their defense off the field. Their last 3 wins, they've averaged being on a time of possession of over 38 minutes. So I think that's been the biggest improvement that you've seen.
Now, speaking of Philip Walker, I believe he is a senior this year. How has he played? He's had a number of games against UConn. He's performed fairly well. Has he improved at all, and if so, what aspects of his game?
It's funny. Last year he had 19 touchdown passes and only 8 interceptions, and I thought he had a really solid year. This year I thought he got off to a kind of a rough start. Now he's at 13 TD passes and 10 interceptions. I still think he's never going to be the most accurate passer. He's around the 57% area. And I think when he tries to go outside of himself and do too much and try to make things happen is when he's had problems. But he's done a pretty good job lately of hitting the intermediate routes. And the fact that they've been running the ball so well, it has really taken a lot of pressure off him. I think he doesn't think that he's got to make every play right now because he's been involved in so many of them. I mean, he's a 4th-year starter. He's got 66 career touchdown passes. He had 24 wins as a starter, the most by a Temple quarterback. So he has a lot of records and everything. But I think this is becoming a more and more balanced offense with that running game flourishing.
Staying with the offense, there's a true freshman, a Connecticut kid, Isaiah Wright, who's gotten some time in the Wildcat. He came in as a receiver. He's also taking handoffs. What has he brought to the offense? I know he had a career high, only 6 carries, but it was against South Florida in a big win, and he also had his career-long run in that game. Do you expect him to be worked in more and more in the offense as the season goes on?
It's funny, but he has been, really. And you're right, you did your homework about the South Florida game, and that was obviously the biggest win of the season. They love Isaiah Wright. There are not many true freshmen that are seeing the time at Temple that he is. And, when he comes in as a Wildcat quarterback, teams kind of know he's going to run, but he's still able to gain some yards. He's, at 6'2", I think he's about 209. He's fast, he's strong, and what they love about him the most is he is very intelligent and he's diligent in film study. That he's had to pick up a couple positions, receiver, running back, Wildcat quarterback, and the only reason why he may not be a bigger and bigger part of the offense is because their 2 running backs, Jahad Thomas and Raquel Armstead, are doing so well. Those 2 are averaging 5.8 yards per carry between them. They've scored 20 rushing touchdowns. So that's probably the only reason we don't even see more of Wright. But I think with coming back to Connecticut, his home state, I think he's going to have a pretty big role this week.
I'm talking with Marc Narducci of the Philadelphia Inquirer, previewing Friday night's matchup between UConn and Temple. Moving over to the other side of the ball on defense, the Owls held a fairly decent Cincinnati offense to just 13 points a week ago in a 34-13 win. Have you seen them improve as the season has gone on? I know they held South Florida, a very high-scoring team, to just 30 and really shut down UCF in the second half in that game.
I have, Matt. They have improved. I think the most impressive stat of last week, it was 17-13 at the half. They pitched a shutout in the second half, and they allowed 11 yards from scrimmage. Against a quarterback, Gunnar Kiel, who's been around and has had a lot of success in Cincinnati, so that was good. what's amazing about them is they're so banged up. Last week was the return of Sean Chandler, their outstanding free safety. He had missed the previous 4 games with a right knee bruise. He came back and really. Archel Foster, their starting cornerback, he got hurt near halftime in Saturday's game, and he's not going to play again. And they just had a bunch of other people nicked up, but they continue to play well. Their leading tackler, Stephon Marshall, missed 1 game due to injury. But they've really played cohesively, and I think one of the keys is they really rotate a lot of people. You see a lot of people, so they're fresher, and now they're also used to game action. So the difference between some of the starters and the second-teamers isn't that great. So they've had pretty good depth on defense.
Now, during the week, has Coach Rule talked about the matchup with UConn receiver Noel Thomas, obviously with some injuries in his secondary? Did he talk about that being a concern at all?
Well, he said even without injuries, Noel Thomas is a headache. I mean, the guy's got, 83 receptions at this point. He says he's one of the best receivers in the country. Obviously, he's probably been double-teamed most of the year, and I would expect seeing that as well. So, yes, they're very, very aware, and they understand and respect the game-breaking ability that Thomas has. They also think that Connecticut can run the ball pretty well. So, they're not acting as if they're playing a 3-6 team that has lost 3 in a row. They said they always have good battles. And if you remember last year, Matt, when Temple won the 27-3 game, it was only 10-0 at halftime at Lincoln Financial Field. So, I don't think Temple's going to overlook this team one bit.
Now, the Owls currently sit atop the East Division of the American Athletic Conference at 4-1. Has there been any talk about them potentially getting back to the AAC title game for the second year in a row?
Well, it's out there, and Coach Rule says he doesn't bring it up, but it's undeniable. If they win their final 3 games, they're back there, regardless of what South Florida does, because the win over South Florida gives them the tiebreaker. But he says, that's all and good, but if we lose this week, it's out the window, because they don't feel South Florida is going to lose again. I don't either, even though the Bulls have a little tougher last 3 games than Temple does. So they know it's out there, but their main thing is, as just about any college football team is focused just on this week and winning this game.
And a final question for Marc Narducci of the Philadelphia Inquirer. What are you expecting to see in the game on Friday night under the lights on ESPN2? A lot of close battles between these two teams. I know last year you mentioned it was 27-3, but even prior to that, 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of close battles. Seems to be a very good history between these two programs over the last decade or so.
There really does, and if you look at it, Matt, they're the only 2 teams kind of in the eastern, the only 2 teams in the eastern area in this conference. So if there's anything of a rivalry, it's really these 2 teams going at it. I expect Temple doesn't always start out well. So if you're Connecticut and you want to try to hit a home run early, that might not be a bad idea, because Temple has been notorious for slow starts, and they just kind of have this wearing down effect on people, and then they try to win the fourth quarter. So I expect Temple to try to run the ball, and I expect them, again, in the time of possession area to get up around that 37, 38-minute time of possession, and they hope to wear down a Connecticut team that up until last week, had been playing very competitive football.
Well, I definitely agree. It's going to be, I think, a decent game on Friday night. Definitely appreciate the time. Thanks for joining. And before you go, maybe give the listeners where else they can find you online other than Philadelphia Inquirer.
Yeah, all our stuff's on Philly.com/sports. We have a lot of Temple stuff. We do some video reports and previews up there. We have the most recent AAC power ratings, where Temple, by the way, is 3rd. I thought that was a little low, but that's a whole other story. So yeah, Philly.com/sports.
All right, I appreciate the time, like I said, and hope to see you at the game on Friday. You coming up?
Yeah, I'll be up there, Matt. Yeah.
All right, safe travels.
My pleasure. Thank you.